Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Grande. I'm the Career Advisor and Outreach Manager for the MAS and Clinical Research Program here at UC San Diego. My role here is to promote the program and help students with career guidance throughout the program and then post-program. And then I'll pass it off to Melissa, and so she can share about what she does for the program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Zamudio. I'm the Graduate Program Advisor and Coordinator for the MAS in Clinical Research. I provide advising on degree and program requirements, campus policies and procedures, campus services, student services, and student affairs related matters. I'm also responsible for the management and oversight of both the day-to-day operations of the program and students.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia and Melissa. Hi, everyone. My name is Ravi Mehta. I'm a nephrologist and I'm the director of the Masters in Clinical Research program. I've been privileged to be in this role right from its inception. We started this over 25 years ago and seen it grow into multiple aspects. So I'm delighted we'll have an opportunity to share what we've been doing and hopefully give you all the information you need. May I request, if it's possible, that you could turn your cameras on? It just makes it a little easier for us to understand, but I understand if you can't. It'll be just easier for you to follow along. And again, happy to answer questions. We can put them in the chat or you can put them, pass them on as we go through this alongside. All right, so let me start with the first aspect here. That when you look at clinical research training, there's a significant opportunity in multiple aspects of clinical research, and the dimensions are different. And as you will see as we go along, this is a field which is continuing to expand considerably. And this is because there's a growing demand for and a critical need for well-trained clinical researchers. Both there's a workforce gap, and we recognize that over the next decade, there will be multiple positions for clinical research coordinators and clinical research scientists, because in the background, we have so many new discoveries in the biotech field, including in the drug field and devices, that there isn't enough people right now who would take on that role. Um, while a lot of clinical research is done in both the academic and non-academic sectors, what's most important is the rigor and credibility of people who are trained in this, and also the translational impact, because we need to have people who understand various aspects of it. So the career opportunities for our graduates have been in academia, particularly with terms of faculty positions, clinical trial management, and research coordination, but also in terms of industry and in healthcare systems. So you can be a healthcare administrator, but having a recognition of what you're doing, and this whole field of implementation science is continuing to grow, particularly in the opportunities for once you have a product in terms of how do you actually change, make it effective in the environment for the workflows itself. And then governments and nonprofits for public health research. So for all of these positions here, having an advanced degree and certification can accelerate your career progression and salary growth. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last few years is understanding what the market is. And when you look at the turnover rates in clinical research roles, there's a very high turnover because there's a high demand. And the reason there's a turnover that people move from one industry to the next for growth, or they fact find they're a better position for them. And as a consequence, there's a constant hiring and competition for talent. There's a huge aspect now which is happening with decentralized and remote clinical trials, which is partly driven by the burgeoning field of AI with respect to how things can be done differently. And as a consequence, these e-clinical software and telehealth platforms are making that happen. And then we've got these specialized and emerging rules on multiple areas, as you can read here for yourselves, of different facets. So some of these would be more in terms of where you might think you want to go. What's more interesting is when you look at the salary ranges and the experience levels and who the common employers are, you can see that it varies from even clinical research coordinators getting to a reasonable salary here from to get to much higher salaries as you go forward up into the mid levels on this part. But most of these companies now are requiring that you've had some methodological training in this, not just, out of the box from your starting point. And what we have looked at just in San Diego, for example, this is an example of San Diego, of how much growth there is in these areas. There's a significant increase in growth just in our region itself with so many new job openings. This is in 2024 data. And there, as some of you may know, we have over 80 biotech companies in the San Diego area, all looking at different levels, starting from big pharma like Pfizer and Merck and Novartis to multiple newer, smaller companies which are going into the space itself. So, keeping that as the background, what does the Master's in Clinical Research at our school help you get there? When you look at what we started off with, this is our primary goal, is to develop and equip a multidisciplinary workforce of clinical and translation researchers who emerge with the knowledge and skills to conduct ethical, scientifically sound and patient-based research, but more importantly, recognizing that this is team science. There's not one of you who's going to be able to do this individually by yourselves. So we have to learn how to collaborate and do this as you go along, that part of it. So right from the inception, some over 25 years ago, we started with these three pillars. The first is providing an educational and practical training, individualized guidance for applying the knowledge, giving an independent study project, and then flexibility in the pace of study and the format of classes to accommodate your varying needs. So those are the three pillars itself. And what the core values of our program are: scientific integrity, as I mentioned earlier, this commitment to rigorous, ethical, and reproducible research, the interdisciplinary collaboration. So we have in our classes, in a cohort, people from across medicine. We've got from pharmacy, we've got nursing, psychology, biomedical science, different academic environments. So you may find yourself sitting next to somebody who's doing orthopedics and someone who's doing, ophthalmology or gynecology, which ordinarily these people may not mix as much, but in our class environment, they're all coming together as a common factor. We recognize that career development doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it requires some mentorship. It requires professional development for this. So that's a key part of our program philosophy as we go along. And then we have this flexibility in the module curriculum and scheduling overall. So you've got the curriculum, you've got this flexibility, and you've got this collaboration as the three aspects of the program design. So how is it actually implemented? So the first thing is that we make sure that the core curriculum and the electives are designed in such a way that they're experiential. So you get some core knowledge and then you get some experience within them. And it is directed in such a way that it is your area of interest. It isn't that you're doing everything just because it's a sequence of things. So, for example, when we do our biostatistics classes, we are training you to use a biostatistical package to apply to your area of research interest, not just generally, here's an example of that you do. So it's a little more tuned to allow you to grow on your own. We collaborate this with the School of Medicine manages the curriculum, and the University Extension administers the MAS degree program, and the Office of Graduate Studies confers the degree. We are self-funded. So that's one of the things. We get no funding from outside, from the state or anyone else. So that's why we have to maintain this with our tuitions itself. So our intended audience, and I suspect that some of you are in one of these categories itself for your interest, or you are aiming to get into one of these categories. These are sort of the general areas that we look for, and we have people coming from all of these aspects. And you might venture to think is, PhDs or academia or industry, some of them are learning this because they want to learn translational of their products or have elements there. And and certainly you've got research nurses and study coordinators coming into this. We've got two pathways of study. If you have a UCSD paycheck, you're an employee from UCSD, we have the opportunity to go down this CREST pathway where the first 20 units, you can get a certificate from this. And also you transition to the MAS degree. This pathway has some discounts built into it because you're a UCSD employee. A regular student has to matriculate directly into the master's pathway for a full degree of the 40 credit units itself. And our curriculum is set up with core courses which contribute to that 20 units of the CREST. And then you've got the masters, which are more electives, and some of them are required. For example, we need advanced statistics as a key mandated elective, and then you've got choices. And then you've got the individual study project itself. Collectively, these are 40 credit units itself. And when you look at what this is designed to do is to cover these competencies. So at the end of when you emerge from this, we expect that you would have a competency of clinical analysis, to have understand knowledge gaps for research design, ethics and regulation, data management, scientific communication, epidemiology, and biostatistics. These are sort of the core elements which go into a master's level. And what we do is continuously look and see how these competencies are evolving across the whole spectrum of clinical research, because these competencies will continue to change as we evolve. So as over the course of the next several years, we anticipate that there will be some changes required in terms of how AI gets integrated into this and where we would be thinking along those lines. But right now, these are based upon the CTSA, so the Clinical Trials Court Consortium, which is across the US. These are some of the core competencies, and we map them out for our purposes. So just to give this as a broader framework, so you need 40 units for the master's degree, 20 units of the core courses, 4 units of professional development, 4 units of advanced statistics, 6 units of general electives, including 4 units of experiential learning, and then 6 units of the independent study project. So what does this, each component maps to the competencies for the high demand roles for the design, data analysis, regulatory knowledge, scientific writing, and leadership. So that's where the master's comes in. So the pace of study is twofold. You can choose one of these paces of study. Most of our students are now going into a 12-month pace of study, where you're taking 4 to 6 courses per quarter, and that's the total program cost at the moment. The same program cost, but this is over 24 months of 8 quarters itself as you go through this element here, right? And typically here you're working a lot harder because you have more aspect. But the way we've designed these space of study is that you can be having a full-time job and still take part of the master's program, because most of our classes are held 2 to 3 days a week in the evenings from like 4 to 6. And what that allows you to do is to basically keep a day job in there. The expectation, though, is that you would have not only class assignments, but you would also have some homework assignments. So typically, a 2-unit course will be about 40 hours of work over a period of about 10 weeks. So it's not onerous in by itself, but it's a lot of things that you have to take into account depending upon how many courses you're taking in each quarter. And I just want to show you this as an example. So on the top here is core courses overall, and then you've got these rotating electives, and you've got the conditional programs for all various aspects in terms of summer, fall, winter, spring, depending upon how you're coming to down this pathway itself. So the independent study project is sort of the final aspect. For any master's program, including ours, you need to be able to demonstrate that you've acquired the skills and the knowledge and the ability that warranty thus being able to say you're a master of this. In order to do this, we have a requirement that you have to do a project, and that project has to be then presented to a committee of your peer, actually who are already well established, 3 people in the committee. So you have both an oral presentation, a written thesis, and a written publication. It's a written project outline, which is equivalent of a manuscript. It doesn't have to be a manuscript itself. And what we are looking here is that these are representing that you know how to do clinical research from the standpoint of asking a question, placing a hypothesis, going out and conducting the research, doing their data analysis, presenting it, having the budgetary aspect of it, and learning how to actually present it. All of those things come into play. So these are just examples. And then as you will see here is they represent just a smattering of the ISPs which have been presented overall, and they are from all over. It's all different spectrums. It doesn't matter which part of healthcare you want to be in. There's opportunities here because one of the things we do is we pair you with a research mentor. You may already have a research mentor, in which case you would work with them. If you don't, we look at your levels of interest or where you want to be or what you're thinking of and pair you with an established clinician researcher who has access to data or has access to a project that they will help you build on. And in case they don't, we also have data repositories which can be utilized for the independent study project itself. We every year have all our master students present their research in a clinical research symposium, which is in, as you can see from these pictures here, is both posters, some oral presentation. We get best awards for it, with some judges rolling into this. So there's a variety of opportunities here for us to showcase your work, but more importantly, for you to feel that you've done something which can be actually shown to everyone else as you go along. So our management is done by the graduate studies. It manages the curriculum and its administrative department, and as I pointed out, is self-funded. Part of the CREST program was being supported through the UCSD's Clinical Translational Research Institute, which now has, unfortunately, with the funding cuts, we've had a lot of these cuts in place, but it still is a relationship with the CTRI. And that's important is our students have access to all the CTRI resources, and a lot of them can be utilized for a variety of the things. For example, the CTRI has got access to the entire UC-wide system of data on all our patients, which is over several million patients' data sets, which can be utilized for research for asking different questions as you go along. So I've been fortunate enough to the director, Dr. McCutcheon, who is an infectious disease specialist, is a co-director, and Rafael Como is a co-director who's also the academic coordinator for our program. And we have collectively set up a large number of faculty who are also course directors who essentially take care of all the courses and also have guest lecturers in it. The program administration is done through the University Extension team, and you have Cynthia and Melissa here on this. As I mentioned, Raphael is the academic coordinator. Christina and Sevla are the other two people, along with Hugo, that you will eventually meet itself. So let me go back one here. The admission, so the admission requirements for this, here's the admission requirements are a bachelor's degree in a related area or an advanced degree, bachelor's degree or a graded institution with comparable to the USCAF and at 1 year of related work experience, and a minimum GPA from where you are in this place. And then the documentation required is the online application. It's here. Your curriculum vitae, the statement of purpose, 3 letters of recommendation, and for international applicants, you need the TOEFL or these scores, but there's no GRE or GMAT required for the program itself. And for the logistics, so we have this brand new building, which is just here, just below the Veterans Hospital, easily accessible. The trolley line is within a few blocks from here that you can walk to and come to. There is parking underneath here, so it is accessible. And this little bridge takes you actually onto the campus itself. So this is where we'll be having our classes now, starting from the winter course from 2026. And this is our central library in the university itself, but that's the website for both the UCSD and the CREST that you can access on. And also we have a LinkedIn page that you can work with overall.